Hello, everybody. Hello. How are you today? What's going on? What's up? How's it going? Wow, that was very energetic, wasn't it? I don't know what came over me. I don't know what happened to me. If you use the phrase, I don't know what came over me, you mean, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I behaved in that way. So yeah, all of this energy. I don't know what came over me. But welcome back once again to British English Pod, a podcast by me, Lewis, also known as English with Lewis, or for Spanish speakers, perhaps Inglés con Lewis. And yeah, I'm back for another podcast. I hope you have been enjoying the podcast so far of me speaking about different topics, giving you some stories and insights about different stuff. For example, last week chatting about the UK, US, and my time in the United States. If you haven't already checked it out, then I would urge you to do so. And if you have any suggestions for upcoming topics on this podcast, please write them in the comments. I'll check them out. And if I like your suggestion, I'd be more than happy to create a podcast about that. So let me know, and then we will see if I fancy recording a podcast with your suggestion or not. But moving on to this week's topic, it's all about accents and colloquial language and slang around the United Kingdom in different regions, different counties, because the UK is split into counties. So, for example, West Yorkshire is a county, Lancashire is a county, Essex is a county. So, I'm going to go over different ways of speaking and different slang from around the country and around all the nations of the UK. Because I'm not... Oi. I almost lost my voice, but I think we're all good. I'm not only going to speak about England, but also about Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And I'm going to do it with a little bit of help from a blog that I wrote a few weeks ago based on the same topic. And if you are watching this video podcast, you'll see that I am wearing a Leeds United top because I am a Leeds fan. And this season, we got promoted to the Premier League. Come on. So I'll be able to watch Leeds probably losing lots of matches against the big boys in the Premier League. But right now, I'm celebrating and I'm in a good mood. So I want to think that next year, Leeds are going to smash it. And we're going to qualify for the Champions League. Huh. I wish. You could also maybe tell me, in this case, Lewis, dream on. Come back down to earth. Be realistic. But I'm a dreamer. So let me dream. Okay, now let's kick off. After that little introduction, I'm going to start sharing my screen and showing you, well, my website. Because on my website, here we have the blog. And it is titled A Guide to British Accents and Colloquial Language. So let me give you an introduction. The United Kingdom is, as you know, a relatively small country, but it's packed with an incredible diversity of accents and dialects. From London to Liverpool, Glasgow to Cardiff, and Belfast to Birmingham, accents can change dramatically from one region to the next, even from one town to another. So, in this podcast, we'll take a deeper dive into some of the most distinctive British accents, explore their quirks, the weird factors, and highlight some common colloquialisms and slang that you might encounter. So, by understanding the wide and rich array of different slang and accents, you will appreciate the variety of British English and pick up some local slang to impress your British friends. On that note, I used the phrasal verb to pick up. In my last video, last Sunday, I was explaining 12 different uses of the phrasal verb pick up. So there are many, but in this case, if you pick up some slang or you pick up some words, it's like to learn informally and casually. So if I'm living in Brussels, I'm going to pick up some French, even if I don't really study it. So that's one thing to bear in mind and take into account. Now, let's start with the first accent, and this is RP, received pronunciation, which is also known as the Queen's English. And firstly, very, very few people actually speak with this accent nowadays. So many people, when they're looking for a British accent, this is what they think of, which is the accent that they use in The Crown, and it's also the accent that they use on Downton Abbey in many cases, but it's not that real. Very, very few people actually speak in this way, hence the name the Queen's English, because it's really only for royalty and very, very posh upper class. But hey, it can also be referred to as BBC English, even though more recently the BBC has been adding lots of different varieties of accents and slang into their journalists, reporters, and presenters. But many people believe RP accent is the standard British accent. And it's associated with the upper class and with public speaking and broadcasting. But as I was alluding to earlier, less than 3% of the population speaks with a true RP accent. But of course, it is understood around the UK. And to be honest, since becoming an English teacher, I have become more RP than I used to be, obviously, because you try to speak in a very neutral way and you try to use your voice as much as possible. So I don't speak with an RP accent, but there are some things that I've picked up since working as an English teacher. An example of the RP accent would be if I'm speaking like this. I'm like the Queen, or I'm like the King. It's like, it's a jolly good day. Thank you very much. And it sounds really posh. But let me go over some slang or words. One is tar. Tar. And this is an informal way of saying thank you. I could say, tar for the cup of tea. Tar is also used in other accents as well, though. So this phrase is quite common. So instead of saying thank you, I could say thanks, I could say cheers, or I could say tar. And usually when I use tar, I'd also add mate after. Say, tar mate. Tar mate. Another common colloquialism is cheerio. Cheerio. And this is very posh. So most people wouldn't say this, but it's another way of saying goodbye. Cheerio! Cheerio, fella! Cheerio! See you at the meeting next week. It's funny. And a few more. A nice colloquialism is I dare say, which is a polite way of expressing your opinion or an assumption. I dare say she'll be fine. I dare say that today it's going to be a beautiful day. And one other common word that they use in an RP accent is rather. So rather is a very versatile word. I could say that I would rather go to the beach than the mountains. In this case, I would prefer. But in an RP accent, they use rather also as an alternative to quite. So it's quite good, it's rather good. It's quite hot today, it's rather hot today. I'm quite busy, I'm rather busy. So those are a few of these common colloquialisms associated usually with the Queen's English. All right, now moving on to number 2, and this is a Cockney accent. And Cockney is associated with London, but particularly East London, and a working class East London. So it's perhaps known for its rhyming slang, which substitutes words with phrases that rhyme with the original meaning. For example, apples and pears, that means stairs. Dog and bone means phone. And Cockney speech often drops the H sound and replaces TH with an F or a V. One classic example would be 3, number 3. In Cockney, they just use an F. Number 3. Number 3. So, Cockney rhyming slang is quite interesting. And where I'm from, we don't really use it. But the previous examples, apples and pears, stairs. I'm going to walk down the apples and pears. I'm going to walk down the stairs. Or, give me the dog and bone. Let me use the dog and bone. Which means, let me use the phone. Give me the phone. Another one which actually my granddad used to use was Ruby Murray. Oh, I'd love a Ruby Murray tonight. And Ruby Murray rhymes with curry. So I'd love a curry tonight. I'd love a Ruby Murray tonight. So these are some peculiarities and interesting little quirks about a Cockney accent. And in films and series, Cockney is normally associated with gangsters and like British mafia and hard blokes, hard men, because it sounds very working class. And a lot of people who go to the football, for example, at the weekend in London, if you support West Ham, for example, a lot of the locals would be Cockney, and they'd use a lot of Cockney rhyming slang. But let's have a look at some other colloquialisms. One is blimey. Whoa, blimey! This is also quite common in Australian English too. And the word blimey is used to express surprise or shock. Oh, blimey! You finished that report already? Oh, blimey, it's 25 degrees. Woo! So blimey is like, wow, oh my god. Another colloquialism they use is knees up. And knees up is a party, a celebration. So I could say we're having a knees up for Dave's report. Let me repeat that. We're having a knees up for Dave's retirement. So to have a knees up is to have a party. But there are some other colloquialisms that Cockneys use quite a lot. And a common little interjection is, oi, 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 where you going? Oi, what you looking at? So if you say oi, it's a way of grabbing someone's attention. Usually when you're shouting, oi, you, where you going? Oi. Next, instead of saying boss, a lot of Cockney people might say governor. Governor, which is slang for boss, specifically in East London area. All right, governor. What's happening, governor? Is it a busy day today, governor? So that is a little insight into the Cockney accent, which, as I said, is all around East and perhaps also South London. And for those of you who don't know, when looking at London, traditionally, West London has always been the posher part. So in West London, people would probably speak with more of an RP accent. Some areas of North London also. And then South London and East London were the working class areas. Nowadays, as with most big cities, cities are expanding more and more and getting bigger and bigger. So as a result, many of these areas in East and South London are being gentrified. So a lot of investment is going into the area. They are knocking down blocks of flats and they are building lots of, let's say, fancier buildings. And there are lots of hipster cafes and stuff like that. So East London and South London aren't the same as they used to be. And there will be less and less Cockney people because of industrialization, I suppose. And the fact that the world is becoming more globalized. But anyway, let's move on to number 3. And this accent is Scouse. And Scouse is from Liverpool and around the area close to Liverpool. So a person from Liverpool is a Scouser, and they would speak with a Scouse accent. So as I said, Scouse is the accent of Liverpool, and it's known for its distinctive sing-song quality and unique intonation. And its development was heavily influenced by Irish immigrants, as well as Welsh and other accents, due to Liverpool's history as a really important, bustling port city. Because decades and centuries ago, Liverpool was a really, really key part of the British economy. Now it's perhaps not as important as it used to be, but it used to be a place where there'd be people from all over the place, and it was a bit of a cultural melting pot. And a lot of Scousers, Liverpudlians, will first say that they are Scousers, and then maybe say that they are English or British. So it's a part of the UK that is very proud of where they're from, and they tend to reject the rule of the main government. And the reason for this is mainly because during Margaret Thatcher's government, people from around Liverpool weren't treated very well, and she didn't invest a lot of money in the local services. So Scousers started to hate her a little bit. So they are always Scouse, then English, if that. And you might know that I went to a university in Liverpool. So I've got a soft spot for Liverpool. And yeah, I always love going back to Liverpool. It's a great place, a wonderful city. It's got a good vibe, friendly people. There's lots to do. It's a great night out. And yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I went to uni there. But if I had to move back to the UK, one of the options would be to move to Liverpool. And I'm going to do a little... I was about to do a Liverpudlian accent. Let me try again. Mate, how are you? What's going on? This is a little bit like a Scouse accent. It's the only accent I can properly do. So it sounds, as I was saying, that it's very sing-songy. You go up and down with the intonation. And for example, words like chicken or kitchen, it sounds like there's always a little bit of a strange sound. And it's up and down. So that is a little bit of what you will hear if you end up going to Liverpool. Now, let's have a look at some colloquialisms. One common adjective is sound. So if you say that something is sound, you're saying that it's good, it's cool, it's nice. It's like, oh, sound, mate. Sound. That's sound, mate. That's great. So sound is another way of saying good or great. Another colloquialism is to be made up. If you say that you are made up, you're saying that you are delighted. You're really, really happy. It's like, mate, I'm made up. I'm absolutely made up that you got the job. I'm made up that you got the promotion. So to be made up is to be really, really happy. Other stuff is boss. That's boss, that. So if you say that something is boss, again, you're saying it's great, it's sound, it's amazing. And in Liverpool, they don't always say mate. They also use a short word, which is la. L-A. Like, all right, la. All right, la. How are you doing, la? So, la, L-A, just means mate, friend. And one more, because Scouse is something I know, is dead. I'm not thinking about dying, don't worry. If you say that something is dead good, dead funny, dead interesting, dead hot, dead curious, you're saying it is very. Dead good, very good. Dead interesting, very interesting. So, that is an overview of Scouse. Now let's continue in the north of the UK, because now we're going to go to Newcastle. And people from Newcastle are known as Geordies. So a Geordie accent is an accent from Newcastle. And with this, you might be familiar with the TV program from like 10 years ago, which was Geordie Shore, which was all about young people who lived in a big house together and they went out and got drunk and had a good time. That was Geordie Shore, and it was based on the original American version, Jersey Shore. But hey, the Geordie accent is spoken in Newcastle and the surrounding areas. And it's known for its distinctiveness and strength, and it's often considered one of the most recognizable accents in the UK. And Geordie has its own unique vocabulary and pronunciation, often differing widely from standard British English. And I actually lived with two Geordies when I was in my second year of university. So despite living in Liverpool, I was surrounded by Geordie accents at the same time. And many people will claim that a Geordie accent is a very happy accent. People, I don't know, they feel comforted when they're around Geordies. They feel safe when they're around Geordies because it's a really cheerful, joyful, and happy accent. I'm not very good at doing an impression of a Geordie accent, but let me show you some colloquialisms, and I'll try to put on a bit of an accent. So first, a really common word which means come on or let's go is away. Away the lads. Away the lads. Which means like, come on boys, come on guys. Another example, away. We're going to be late for the meeting. Which means like, come on, we're going to be late for the meeting. Another one is a bairn. A bairn is a child, a kid. For example, I've got to pick up the bairn from school. The bairn, the child. So Geordie, again, it's a very happy accent. It's cool. Another thing that you could say is canny. That's a canny little pub. That's a canny little pub, like. It means like nice or pleasant. If something is canny, it's nice, it's pleasant, it's cool. One more. If I say divant, What do you think it means? Well, didn't means don't. For example, divn't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it, mate. I didn't do it. I don't do it. So if you say didn't, it means don't. If you say canny, it means nice. If you say hoe, it means come on. And if you say bairn, it means a child. And a Geordie accent, because it's so far up north on the northeast, Newcastle, it has some Viking roots. So many words derive from Old Norse, which is a Viking language, and it reflects the history of the northeast of England. But continuing with the north and focusing on my accent. Yes, it's a Yorkshire accent. And Yorkshire is the biggest region in England. And it's divided into 4. So you have West Yorkshire, where you have Leeds and Bradford. Then you have South Yorkshire, where you have Sheffield, for example. You have East Yorkshire, which is where you have all of the coast, really good fish and chips. A main city would be Hull. And then North Yorkshire is the Yorkshire Dales. So it's a very beautiful countryside area, which doesn't have a lot of cities, but it does have York. So, as I said, I have a Yorkshire accent, but when I'm recording podcasts or teaching, I speak with a very neutral Yorkshire accent. And it's spoken across the historic county of Yorkshire, which in Yorkshire we also have a flag, and it is kind of like a light blue with a white rose in the middle. And it's a beautiful flag, by the way. And people often associate a Yorkshire accent with friendliness, again, working class people. It's welcoming, it's warm, and we have very flat vowels. I'll give you some examples. But it's common also to drop the in sentences and replacing it with t. For example, I'm going to the pub. Many Yorkshiremen would say, I'm going to pub. I'm going to pub. Or I'm off to pub. I'm off to pub. So that's an example. Another thing is just, as I said, the vowels. So we wouldn't say no. We would say no, no. We wouldn't say potato. We'd say potato. We wouldn't say tomato. We'd say tomato. So a Yorkshire accent, that's another example. So if I'm speaking RP, I say so. So. But if I'm speaking is my normal accent, I'd say so. So. I'm going to pub. So yeah, that is my accent. Of course, it changes slightly between North Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, and so on. But it's a friendly accent. It's a good accent. It's not too difficult to understand. And some people think it sounds a bit ugly. I prefer to say that it sounds friendly. Now on to some common colloquialisms. Nothing. If you want to say nothing in a Yorkshire accent, you'd say no. No. N-O-W-T. No. There's no wrong with the report. It's perfect. Now that's me putting on my accent. But you could all say no. There's no wrong. No wrong. And anything would be oat. O-W-T. I haven't got oat. Or there isn't a wrong. So that's one example. O and no are anything and nothing. A boss or a person in charge, we'd call them gaffer. The gaffer wants the project finished by Friday. The gaffer. What else? What else? What else? I mentioned I'm off to pub, or I'm going to pub. You could also say "Hey up, hey up, mate, hey up." Hey up is a nice way of saying hello. Hey up, mate. How you doing? Hey up, what's going on? So "hey up" is a very common phrase to use in Yorkshire, and again, it means hello or how are you. And then another thing you could say is mardy. And mardy means moody or grumpy. Stop being mardy and get on with it. He's been really mardy recently. If you know Arctic Monkeys, a famous band from Sheffield, one of their famous songs is Mardy Bum. Now that Mardy Bum, I'm looking down and it's like looking down the barrel of a gun, and it goes on. So Mardy Bum is a moody person. So anyway, that is a Yorkshire accent, and if you haven't visited Yorkshire before, you definitely should go to Leeds, go to Sheffield, go to York, go to the seaside in East Yorkshire, and you'll have a great time and eat fantastic fish and chips. Okay, let's continue. Now, Brummie. Birmingham. So the Brummie accent is from Birmingham, and Brummies are people from Birmingham. And this accent has a unique intonation that's described as relaxed, with a distinctive rising and falling pitch. It's an accent that has been subject to negative stereotyping because it sounds like you're a bit mardy, a bit grumpy, and there's very little intonation. Everything is a very low pitch. But many people think it's warm and it's charming. Eh, I'm not sure. Because personally, I don't think a Brummie accent is the most interesting. But if you want to practice a Brummie accent more and you really want to put yourself to the test, check out Peaky Blinders. Because Peaky Blinders is a crime series from the 1920s and 30s, I believe. And all of them are Brummies, or at least the majority of them are Brummies. They're from Birmingham. They always say it like that. Birmingham. Yeah, I'm a Brummie. I'm from Birmingham. Now, what are the colloquialisms they use in Birmingham? So one thing they say, as a way of saying mate or love, friend, a term of endearment is bab. B-A-B. I'd say, all right, Bab, how's it going? All right, Bab, how's it going? That would be how they'd actually speak. So Bab is like mate, friend, love. And then another one is a cob. So a bread roll is a cob. It's like say, can I have a sausage cob, please? Can I have a sausage cob, please? Which is like a sausage sandwich, a sausage bread roll. And famous Brummies. Ozzy Osbourne is a famous Brummie. J.R.R. Tolkien is also a famous Brummie. And yeah, of course, he was the guy who wrote The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, which I absolutely adore. There's one other little colloquialism I'd like to go over, which is yam. Yam. If you say yam alright, yam alright, yam alright, you are saying, are you alright? So, yam is you are or are you? Yam. And I don't know if you checked out a British English conversation I did with Laura 6 months ago or something like that. No, I lie. Back in September of last year, Laura from, I've forgotten the name of the channel, but it was Speaking English, British English, or something similar. She's lovely. I'll put a link in the description. But she said that she was a yammy. And a yammy is a person from like West Brom, I think. So Birmingham, West Brom, Wolverhampton, it's all the same region, and they all have practically the same accent. A Brummie accent. From Birmingham. Good. All right. Now, number 7, the West Country. So the West Country is all around Cornwall, Bristol, and it's a very agriculturally heavy region where you have, generally speaking, good weather, at least comparing to the rest of the UK, because it is the southwest of the island. And the West Country accent is what you might imagine when you think of traditional, rural, southern England. As I said, it's spoken in areas like Somerset, Devon, and Cornwall, and it's well known for having its strong rolling R's and its connection to pirate speech. So, a lot of pirates traditionally came from this area of the UK because I suppose they had a lot of ships and people were maybe looking to immigrate and explore and go on adventures. And the fictional character Long John Silver had this kind of accent. And yeah, a lot of people who live in this area of the UK are farmers and they work in farming jobs. So that's why they sound a little bit rural. Now, some colloquialisms. I don't really know. I've never really visited this part of the UK, but from what I have found and what I have discovered doing my research, if you want to say that something has been done well or it's been done correctly, you'd say it's a proper job. You've done a proper job on those figures. A proper job is like a good job. A proper job, a good job. And instead of saying, where is it? Many people in this area of the UK, in the West Country, they'll say, where's it to? Where's it to? Where's the office to then? Which means, where is the office? Where's the post office to? So they add this to for no reason. And this is a little unusual thing related to the West Country. But as I said, it's often associated with the countryside, with farming communities. It sounds very friendly, a little bit funny. And this is the area of the UK where we produce all of our cider. So there are lots of apple fields and apple trees. So they make lots of cider in the West Country. And it's a really beautiful place. As I said, if you're going on holiday to the UK in summer, it's probably your best bet for good, reliable, sunny weather. All right, now, number 8, Welsh. In particular, South Welsh English. Because in the north of Wales, their accent isn't as strong as it is in the south of Wales. And the south of Wales is where they have Cardiff, Swansea, Newport, and it's close to Bristol and the West Country. Whereas in the north, it's where it's very close to Liverpool. For example, Wrexham is right on the border between England and Wales. And Wrexham, of course, has been made popular thanks to Ryan Reynolds and Rob McCannell. I've forgotten his name, but you know who I'm on about. Because they bought Wrexham Football Club when they were in the 5th division. And yeah, now they are on the route and the road and the path towards the Premier League. So that is Wrexham. Now, did you hear that? Ziggy! You might know that I'm still looking after a dog. Ziggy! So sometimes when you hear a siren, the dog that I am dog sitting will start barking, but it seems she's calmed down now. Hopefully that didn't distract you too much. Now, where was I? What was I saying? Of course, Welsh English and Wrexham. So Rob McCannell and Ryan Reynolds bought Wrexham Football Club and took them from the 5th division now to the Championship. And there is a really interesting TV program and documentary on Disney, which goes through all of this journey of how they are transforming Wrexham, a relatively small town, into a more, let's say, affluent and wealthy area with a successful football team. But that's in the north. Let's focus on South Wales. And a Welsh accent sounds kind of similar to a Scouse accent. There's lots of singing, lots of intonation changes. It's been influenced by the Welsh language, which not that many people speak nowadays, but it is still active. It's not completely dormant. So people do teach Welsh at school, but many of the people who live in Wales don't speak it fluently. They know bits and bobs. That's it. They know bits and pieces. That's it. But if you're from Wales, people often speak a little bit about this. So if you're from the valleys, you're always going up and down in the intonation. So as a result, people often think that a Welsh accent is very, very friendly. Like many of the different regional accents from the United Kingdom, a Welsh accent is a bit like this. So that's my impression of a Welsh accent. Let's look at some colloquialisms. If you say something is tidy, you're saying it's good. It's impressive. That's a tidy presentation you gave. It's like, ooh, yeah, that flat looks really tidy. This meal looks really tidy. It looks good. It looks impressive. And another one you could say, speaking about Welsh English, is lush. Lush. So if you describe something as lush, you're saying it's lovely. It's beautiful. That cake was lush. The place we stayed was absolutely lush. So lush is a way of saying beautiful, and tidy is a way of saying very good. So that is a little bit about the Welsh accent, in particular the south of Wales. Now, starting to finish off, we can begin with a Scottish accent. In particular, a Scottish accent from Glasgow and Edinburgh. But there is quite a bit of a difference in the accent between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Because Edinburgh is the capital of Wales, and I think people speak a little bit more neutrally in Edinburgh, and they speak slightly posher than people in Glasgow. And the really, really difficult Scottish accent to understand is normally a Glaswegian accent. So an accent from Glasgow. Because in Edinburgh, it's quite neutral. It's quite easy to understand. But hey, Scottish accents vary widely between cities and regions. In Glasgow, the accent is fast-paced and often difficult for non-natives to understand, while in Edinburgh, the accent is softer and more polished. Scottish people, also have their own dialect called Scots, which includes a lot of vocabulary unique to Scotland. Let's go over some of them. If you say wee, you mean small. I'll have a wee bit of cake. A small bit of cake. I'm a wee bit excited. I'm a little bit excited. The wee kids are out playing outside. The little kids, the small kids. So wee is really common and it means small. Another super common slang colloquialism from Scotland is I. It's also common for Geordies. I. I. If you say I, you mean yes. Are you busy today? Aye. Would you like to go out for a beer? Aye. Are you going to join my group classes? Aye. On that note, if you would like to join any of my classes, you can find a link in the video description. And then, that way, you can improve your British English with me. Yoo-hoo! Aye. So back to Scottish English. Many people love Scotland. I love Scotland. Scottish people are very friendly, very funny, very down to earth as well. And yeah, I'd recommend visiting Scotland, in particular Edinburgh, and then going on a road trip around the north of Scotland to the Highlands, to different places, because Scotland is so beautiful and it has the highest mountain in the United Kingdom, which isn't very high. We don't really have high mountains in the UK because the highest one is Ben Nevis, and I think it's like 1,500 miles above sea level, perhaps. I should probably check these things, but Ben Nevis is definitely the highest mountain in the UK. But Scottish English, they say I a lot, which means yes, and they also say we a lot, which means little or little bit. If you've ever been to Scotland or spoken to Scottish people, let me know. How did it go on? And did you understand anything or not? Last but not least, number 10, Northern Irish English. This is associated with Belfast. And I actually have some Northern Irish friends, in particular from Liverpool, because as I said, in Liverpool there is a big melting pot where you have lots of Welsh people, lots of Irish people, and English people, of course. But Northern Irish English, particularly in Belfast, has a distinctive rhythm and a unique pronunciation of vowels. It's lively and often very fast, which can make it tricky for outsiders to follow at times. And this musicality of the accent reflects the spirit of the people. People are usually fun and they have a good time. And some common colloquialisms. One which is common across the whole of Ireland is crack. C-R-A-I-C. And crack is fun, or good conversation, or news. If I say, what's the crack this weekend? You're asking, what's going on this weekend? Here, what's the crack? What's the crack, mate? It means what's going on, what's happening, what's the news? If I say, it was good crack, that was really good crack, you're saying that it was good fun. That party was good crack. That party was good fun. Going to the football is really good crack. Going to football is good fun. So, crack means the news or fun, generally speaking. And yeah, a Northern Irish accent is very musical. It's very fun. I think it's really cool. And another thing they would say is "Boucha, Boucha," which means "How are you?" Here, here, mate. Boucha. Another thing they might say is "Dead on." He's dead on, that lad. He's dead on, which means he's okay. He's all right. He's dead on. And whenever I'm trying to do a Northern Irish impression or accent, I always begin by starting a phrase with here. Here, mate. What's going on this weekend? What's the crack this weekend? You see, I haven't got to work. Here. That is me trying again to do a Northern Irish accent. And that's it for now. There we have all of the 10 different regional accents that I wanted to show you and teach you some of these common colloquialisms and slang in this video. And of course, you don't need to use any of these slang words or colloquialisms unless you're living in the UK and speaking to people from these areas, or you're thinking about moving to any of these areas. But it is important to understand, and I'm going to tell you why. Because mastering the variety of British accents and colloquialisms isn't just about improving your listening skills. It's about connecting with British culture. You see, accents hold the history, pride, and identity of their regions. Whether you're watching British TV shows, traveling across the UK, or communicating with British colleagues, understanding these accents will help you relate to people and make your English sound more authentic. So next time you hear someone with a different British accent, try to pick out the unique features and maybe even ask them about their favourite local phrases. You might discover a whole new side to British English. So, on that note, we can call it a day because I've been rambling for 50 minutes, telling you all about different British accents and colloquialisms. If you did enjoy this video and you learn a thing or two, please give it a like, share it, and leave me a comment, and I would be absolutely over the moon to read them. So thanks once again, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.